We are back with this Dodge Charger. Now the woman took it in for wheel alignment. The alignment shop said they couldn't do an alignment because the camber on this rear wheel was too far out and there's no adjustment. So something needs to be done here. Something needs to get fixed. So this tire was completely bald. I can't remember how bad it was, but it was bald. I think it was might even showing the wires or something on the inside. But what do? They tell her no, we can't do a wheel alignment, and they sell her a brand new tire and put it on here. I'm going to look at that to see if there's something we could do about that rear suspension and what needs to be fixed to fix that alignment. Also, we have the rear left axle for it, the CV shaft, but I don't know if we're going to be doing that today because it also needs a condenser for the AC. The AC doesn't work. She took it to a shop and the shop told her it needs a condenser, so we have a new condenser here for it. And it's going to be real hot this week, so to her the AC condenser is more important than the CV shaft. Here goes the port for the AC. I took off this cap and I just want to see if there's any freon in the system. So I'm depressing the valve right now and absolutely nothing. This thing is completely empty, so that gives me a little bit more faith in what the shop said. Sometimes whatever shop said, you got to take it with a grain of salt, at least in this area. I'm not trying to bash anyone who works at a shop. I'm just saying don't always trust what people say. Do your own checks. So if we can at least visually see that this condenser is leaking, I'll go ahead and change it with no issues at all. Okay, so this is a open and closed case, because if we look inside of here, and it's hard to see, but I'm gonna give you guys a close-up once I get this bumper off the car. You see all that wet stuff back there? That is the AC condenser, and it is puking its guts out. I got the bumper off of the car, as you can see, and here was a better look at that condenser. You can see how it's completely destroyed. Now this oil cooler just kind of sat right here, was plugged in. Now this is weird. I think this is the first time I ever seen a manufacturer just push like one of these right into their condensers. All right, so I got the old condenser out of the car. It came out through the bottom, you would think, kind of through the top, and I suppose you can if you want to fight with it a little bit and remove the horns. But honestly, once you take the bolts out of it, it just kind of falls right out the bottom. So that's the same way the new one right here is going to go in from the bottom up, and it should be pretty straightforward at this point. Now I do see a little bit of wet right here, but I think that's from the condenser getting on the radiator. I don't think the radiator is actually leaking. The owner gave me the green light to go ahead and change the rear CV shaft because of the whole ABS issue, and you know how it's storing the code, so it unwanted ABS activation and a ABS light on the dash. So you can see the box right there. We have a new CV shaft. It's like 9 p.m. so I figured, you know, let me just go out here and attempt to get this done. So I just went with the classic method of just remove anything that needs to come off to get this thing out of the way. So one by one, taking things off, and it looks like I'm just gonna try to pull the knuckle away from the rest of the car, and I'm almost there. We got the axle to go in a little bit, and we pretty much have our smoking gun right here. So if we zoom in right there on the pickup ring for the ABS sensor, you can see where it's damaged and broken. As you can see, I got the CV shaft out, got the whole knuckle right here. I had to completely disconnect the knuckle from everything except for the e-brake cable that's still attached because I just didn't want to deal with it. I got the knuckle being held up right now with this jack stand, and on my second pull, boop, popped right out. So that's pretty sweet. I'm grateful for that, and I'm really grateful that all of these bolts came out. They all just kind of came right out. You know, none of them, I expected like C's bushings onto the bolts and blah blah blah, but nope, everything just came right out. So let's go ahead and grab the new one and cross our fingers that it's the right part. As far as the length, they look about right, and everything seems to match up. The pickup ring on this one looks like it's in decent condition. I don't see any type of damage to it. But right out of the box, this is the first time I take it out the box, we do have some damage. You can see that is bent over. Not a big issue. Just gonna get some pliers and try to bend it back, and maybe even use a hammer and dolly and see if we could fix that. It's not the worst issue we can have. And look at this. Go ahead, I dare you to point out where it was bent. I dare you. You know what? Let's go ahead and get a closer look. Get out of here. What do you think I am? Of course it was bent. It's not going to be perfect. Get out of here with that crap. It's good enough. So everything's looking really good to me. So I'm gonna go ahead, pop this bad boy in, and we can start putting down all this horsepower out of this 3.5 liter. So since it doesn't hurt to check this, you can see the pickup ring, and you're just gonna have to trust me on this one. I went all the way around it and everything looks pretty good to me. So now I feel good about putting this CV shaft in the car, and we know it's gonna work. Oh, and as far as the old sensor, get out of here. We got a brand new one. Let's get that junk out of here. I knew this was the problem right here. I knew it was the axle, but you know what? The sensor was so damn cheap on Rock Auto, and I'm not talking because I bought a cheap brand. It just happens to be inexpensive for this car, okay? So I figure, you know, we're going through all the trouble to fix this issue with the CV shaft. Let's just throw a brand new sensor on it. It's not going to cost a lot, and it's going to be one and done. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this in. So all of the hard work is pretty much done. I got all the suspension components reconnected. Nothing is torqued down yet. It's late. I'm going to call it a night. Tomorrow I'll load the suspension while I torque all the bolts down, put the brakes back on it, and put the new ABS sensor on it, and that'll be it tomorrow. All right, so I'm ready to take it out for a test drive. Here goes our code that we have, so let's go ahead and clear this code. Now let's go back into the ABS. Let's look at some data. I hate how they have this. They have two different things, and I know they're different PIDs, but they don't label them right here, so you just have to kind of click both and see which one is it that you want. It sucks, but let me get this set up. Okay, so I'm done taking it out for a test drive, and I took screenshots of the data so we're not here trying to look at this thing while we're driving. So here goes our front right ABS sensor and our rear left, and you can see for the most part everything is matching, no dropouts. And here goes our left front and left rear, which is this is the one we just put the CV shaft on. You can see no dropouts, everything's matching. And the whole time while I was driving it, I did not feel the ABS activating anymore. We are no longer getting the ABS light that was right there. So this thing is pretty much set. I hope she can take it to a dealer. I hope she can take it to a shop and they put Freon in the system and there's no more issues, and I hope her AC works. But that's it. I've done all I could do for now. For anyone wondering about the check engine light, here's the codes that we have. She said just the other day that the engine was running pretty rough, and yeah, so I told her when's the last time she had tune-up, and she says she doesn't even know. Okay, so I think before I said her cousin sold it to her, but it wasn't her cousin, it was her brother. And it looks like her brother has done zero maintenance to this car. He just ran the car into the ground, and now she's stuck footing all the bills for this thing and paying to get everything fixed, which is costing her an arm and a leg. And then to see all these codes pop up, it's just going to keep costing more and more money. But honestly, a car that was probably ready for the junkyard a while ago. You know what I mean? That's unfortunate. So she's trying to fix the issues one by one. It's, you know, like putting lipstick on a pig, right? But whatever, it's not my car, you know. I can only do so much. Just trying to help people fix their cars, and you know, what they decide to put their money into, that's on them. All right, so we are back in this Dodge Charger. It's been a few weeks since I put that condenser on it, and I'm out here driving it. The good news is she took it to a shop and they put Freon in the system, and the AC now works. So I'm really happy. This girl was suffering in this heat with a car that her brother sold her that was pretty much just a lemon, and she's been tasked with fixing it. So the AC is blowing nice and cold in here. It feels good. And don't forget, I did the brakes in this thing. I think, yeah, I did them all the way around, the wheel bearings, and everything sounds great. The brakes feel absolutely fantastic. So we got the new parts in for the rear right wheel. I'll show you what parts they are. And now what we're dealing with is trying to fix this alignment issue, because the rear right wheel has too much negative camber and it's just eating through the tires. So let's go back to the garage and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's the wheel that's having an issue with the tire wear. And honestly, I don't think it's so much a camber issue. I think it's a toe issue, okay? So you can see the top of the tire is kind of tucked in, but also, I mean, it's hard to notice, but the tire actually has toe out, okay? So it's, instead of being straight with the car, it's actually like this. And that, I think that's what's really eating up the tires on this car. So we have two arms to replace, okay? This one goes on top. It kind of controls the camber. It's gonna go right up here. All right, see, brand new part. And this one actually controls the toe. Now once we get in here, I'm going to show you guys that this is what an original part looks like, made out of aluminum, right? And here goes the part number for that. By the way, this thing's very difficult to find. It's damn near impossible to find this part. You cannot get this brand new anywhere. I actually bought this off of eBay used. That's how difficult it is. And I only found like 1 or 2 listings on eBay for this part. So once I take this wheel off, you're going to see that somebody has replaced this arm already, but they replaced it with like a steel stamped one. And I don't know what's going on here, but I want to put my money on that steel arm is a different length from this one, and that's what's causing our toe out issue. So let me take this wheel off and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. But you know what, for good measure, let me go get my digital angle gauge and let's check the camber on this real fast compared to the rear left side. Okay, so as the car sits on just level ground here in the driveway, you can see the rear right side, it says 88.5. okay, so it's not completely straight up and down, which a lot of cars you're never going to find that. You're never going to find a true 90. All right, so let's go check the rear left side. And look at that, 88.4. So the point something isn't going to matter because I can move that thing around and get different readings. You know, so let's see if I move it and then reset it. See, there goes the 88.5. So you can see the camber, like the, you know, the in and out like this is relatively the same on both sides. That's why I don't believe it's the camber that's causing this issue, because it looks pretty normal to me. What's causing the issue is the excessive toe out. See, on this wheel, it looks pretty straight. Looks like it's going straight down the car. Don't really see too many issues with it. And like I said, both sides have negative camber. That's normal. But this one is clear as day that the tire is like pointing in that direction. Alright, so I got this wheel off, but before I show you guys that part, I'm going to show you what an original part looks like. So if we look back there, there goes the arm right there. I know it's not really focusing, but that is the arm back there, and it's made out of aluminum. You can see it's not a steel arm. Just a little dirty, but it's aluminum. And here we go on the rear right side. So here goes that same arm, but you can see it's a steel stamped arm. It's not like the other side. The other side has one of these. And over here, we have a different arm. It has been changed before. Okay, and the other arm I have, this one right here in the packaging still, is basically this arm right here. And the reason why we're changing this is because if you look back there, you can see the bushing is being pressed out of the actual arm itself. So that bushing is compromised. So we figure while we're in here, we might as well just change both of them. So it's what we're gonna do. Okay, so I got the upper arm off of the car, and here goes right here next to the new one. These bushings are clearly worn out. But if you look right here, you can really see that the metal is like deformed. These things, and that bushing is completely destroyed back there as well. These bushings were just taking a beating. The one that we thought was going to be the issue, honestly, I don't think it's an issue. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and just be like, oh yeah, there's a difference, it's going to fix the car. You can see when you put them next to each other, and I got bolts in here and here to line everything up, and the bolts line right up, no problems at all. So this arm is not a different length. And the bushings on it aren't exactly destroyed or anything, as you can see. So I don't know, that was my best guess. And on top of that, she did take it into a alignment shop, and they told her, oh, we can't do the alignment because this arm doesn't belong on the car, it's the wrong arm. And they told her she needs to get one of these. But now that we have them side by side, this is not going to make a difference. And it was the alignment shop that made the first call. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the blame on them, because I told her to take it in for a wheel alignment, see what they say, and that's when they noticed that this arm is different, and they told her they can't do an alignment until this arm gets changed for an original one. So they were the first ones to tell her that this arm needs to be changed, and I agree that, like, okay, yeah, they are different, we should put an original one back on. But looking at what I'm seeing here, guys, we can't deny the evidence. I don't think this is going to fix the issue. And the wear that's on this one, I don't think that's going to make the biggest difference in the world. Anyway, let's go ahead and put the new parts on, and we'll just see what it looks like and tell her to take it back to the alignment shop and see what they say. Now, before I just slap this part on, there's one thing I noticed is that this arm, or this bolt that was on the new arm that someone replaced, I could tell it doesn't belong on this car. It just looks different, and it's a different diameter bolt from everything else that came off. So if we put this inside of here, you can see the amount of play this thing has. Okay, very loosey-goosey the whole way through. And they also had a chrome nut on the back, which is standard, by the way. None of my metric wrenches would fit this thing. So clearly this nut doesn't belong here, and neither did this bolt. There's way too much play. And this is the bolt that went right here through the subframe. If we grab any other bolt, so let's grab this one right here, I could already feel there is a noticeable difference. It's very snug inside of here and very minimal play. Okay, grab a different bolt, same thing, very little play, nice and snug, it fits inside there. But you grab the one that whoever did this, loosey-goosey all the way through. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I checked this side. It's the same thing, both ends are exactly the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and check my pile of nuts and bolts over there, see if I could find something that matches this. Okay, so I was able to find a bolt that fits real snug inside of here. I found a nut to go along with it and two washers. They're kind of rusty, but they'll get the job done. Anyway, you can see this thing fits perfectly. Nice snug fit, very little to no play at all when this bolt's inside of here. All right, let's compare that to the one that came out. Look at that, very loose. Like I said, there's a massive difference. How much was this really affecting toe out? I don't know. I would imagine it does affect toe out a little bit. Is it enough to cause the issue that we're having? I have no idea, but we'll find out once we put this new bolt in it and see how it turns out. All right, so I'm just about done here. Got everything torqued down. As you can see, I got the suspension loaded right now. It's no longer resting on the jack stand, and I went ahead and torqued everything down while the suspension was loaded to not damage any of the bushings. And it's pretty much good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the wheel on it. We'll see if the wheel looks any different. If not, there isn't really, I don't know what else to do here. Just take it back to the alignment shop and see what they say about it. So I took the car out for a test drive just to let everything settle. And once we check our camber, once again, as you can see, we are still at 88.4, which means the camber has not changed, which is what I was expecting. As far as toe in or out, it's pretty hard to tell. I mean, you could argue it looks a hair better, but really, I don't have lasers in my freaking eyeballs. So I'm gonna have to go to an alignment shop and see what they say about it. All right, so the owner also wants me to do an oil change and a tune-up on this thing. So we're changing spark plugs, PCV, air filter, you know, basic stuff. And you know, I gave her a quote because I'm like, that's some car next door. It's been going off all day. I gave the owner a quote for, you know, taking off the intake manifold and changing the spark plugs and doing all that. And then I told her I couldn't do it today because I just didn't have the time. You know, it's gonna start getting dark soon. But you know what? She was like, well, the car is gonna stay there overnight. And I was like, you know what? Let me just come out here and knock it out. I mean, within like 20 minutes, I probably had that intake manifold off. So it went way smoother than I was expecting. And because of that, I'm going to lower the price that I quoted her on labor because it was easy, you know? So I'm going to lower the price on labor. And yeah, so we'll go ahead, knock this out real fast. We got a brand new PCV valve, so right here, and it looks like that's gonna be it right there. I already took the hose off of it, so let me go ahead and change this out right now. Way easier to do while the intake manifold is off of the car. Alright, so I got the PCV in, got all the new spark plugs in. I cleaned up the mating surface right there where the gaskets can mate. So put a box right there so nothing falls inside of there. And I figured while I got the intake manifold off, might as well clean out the throttle body. So I just removed it. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up inside of here. It's all cleaned up, looks a million times better. This side as well. So I went ahead and got the oil change knocked out, and we got our new gasket in. Make sure everything looks nice over here. Nothing is rolled, everything looks good. We could put this manifold back in the car. All right guys, so I'm just about done here. Losing daylight, intake manifold is on, and everything is put back together from what I could see. And yes, this thing is missing the cap that goes there. That's how it came in. I told the owner about it. It just doesn't have a cap. But other than that, everything else I did looks good and put back together. So let's go ahead and do a first startup. Okay, I'm gonna put my scanner on it, and I'm suspecting we have to do a like throttle relearn. So okay, so I have to take the manifold off real fast and check what was going on. Looks like the EGR tube, the O-ring or the gasket, completely tore open. I mean, it was already mangled up when I took it off, and me putting it back on completely just put the nail in the coffin, so it tore open, and that was a giant vacuum leak. Luckily, the new kit came with one. I don't know how I missed this. I would have put it on from the very beginning, but I wasn't really paying attention. So I got the bare minimum put back together this time to start it up. So let's see how it goes this time. Hopefully a lot better. No massive vacuum leak. Oh, sounds way better without a massive vacuum leak. Go figure, right? All right, so now that it's running good, let me go ahead and put all the brackets on that hold up the intake manifold. All right, so everything's put back together. As you could hear, the engine's running nice and smooth now. So what I'm going to do is just connect my scanner and see if we have any codes. If we do, I'll just delete them from starting up the engine with that massive vacuum leak. And that'll be it. The owner can come pick it up. And so the engine is still running nice and smooth. Here's the codes that we have. Airflow vacuum leak detected, which is the one I created with that massive vacuum leak. And a P0300 multiple cylinder misfire. Again, that was from the massive vacuum leak. So we're just gonna go ahead and clear all these codes. Some of them are already here, but we're just gonna clear all of them for the sake of doing it. And whatever is a real problem on this car, obviously is gonna throw another code for it, so I'm not worried about it. I just wanna clear the codes that I caused.
Okay, so the owner took the car in for a wheel alignment, and unfortunately she did not get good news. So here's the alignment sheet that they gave her, and we're gonna start here at the top right. You can see it says no adjustment, need cradle. So when I was underneath the car doing the oil change, I did notice that the cradle, the front cradle, was actually like bent in right in front of the oil pan, meaning someone hit something, maybe her brother, since he owned the car before her. He may have hit something and bent in the front of the cradle, and you know the cradle is like a rectangle or a square, so if you bend one end, it's going to affect the other end. It's going to pull on the geometry of the suspension, so I could see that happening. So that's what they're suspecting is wrong with the front end, that it's going to need a cradle, which is really unfortunate. And moving down to the rear right wheel, the one that we're having an issue with the tire wear, you can see the notes that they put down. They have seized bolt question mark and then arm. So they're suspecting that the reason why they can't get it into spec is there has to be a seized bolt, or maybe there is. They tried moving a bolt and it is seized for sure. And what they're saying is that one of the arms, maybe like the main lower control arm, has to be changed. Again, that's unfortunate. I mean, look at this sheet. There's just so much red on this sheet. That's not something you want to see on a alignment sheet, right? It's just, things aren't right. The car drives funny. If you turn the steering wheel like full lock all the way to left or right, it's like the front end is hopping, you know? It just doesn't feel right. and it's really unfortunate. It's just like this girl cannot catch a break, and just one thing after another. But from what I hear, she wants to buy a front subframe, and unfortunately I'm not going to be the one installing it because it's just a little bit too much for me to handle at this moment. But she wants to get it done, so I'll keep you guys posted. Thanks for watching.